coached a lot for high
Of
school girls,
course,
not just,
yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, now you're in the
uh,
position to kind of look for just the best decision, best position for you, right?
yeah,
Like if it makes sense. Yeah,
yeah.
that's a good position to be
Remind me,
in.
remind me where you're at.
I'm at Brea Linda in Southern California.
Yeah, yeah. Brea Land, where is that?
Well,
Where?
it's in it's there. Are you familiar with like Southern California landscape? It's North Orange County. So
Okay,
it's probably like 25 miles south of like downtown LA.
okay, okay. And how long have you been at that job?
I've been there. Well, I've been at that school I started on the boys' side.
Okay,
It's been 5 years, but now I'm on
okay,
the girls' side,
okay,
with varsity. But we just lost our coach resigned a day before the season started.
okay.
And a little bit about the program. I don't know if you heard if you had heard of Brea Linda on the girls side, but it's probably the most storied girls program in the history of girls high school basketball. 10,
Wow.
10
What?
state championships,
Holy man. This is disrespectful on my end to not know
20,
that.
20,
But
20
yeah.
Southern section titles for look up Brea Linda Lady Cats
Can you
basketball.
spell that for me? B
Brea,
R
Brea, and then Olinda,
Linda
and then go
Lady
Lady
Cats.
Cats.
Yeah.
Uh, and just put like historic or California state. Yeah.
Mo
Uh,
highly successful girls basketball teams known for strong programs. This is AI, by the way.
yeah,
I
yeah,
just wanted to
yeah,
Google show
yeah,
you the
yeah.
AI
Yeah,
for
it'll probably give you a
Brea.
good. It'll give you a good synopsis.
Okay. And led by coaches like Craig Matthews. Is that the coach who just resigned recently then?
Yeah,
Or
that's the one who just resigned. Yeah.
okay. So what's your position then? Are you still
Right now, I'm
assistant? You
lead
taking
varsity
over?
assistant. Yeah, got
Okay.
guy for interim. Yeah, so
Okay.
we'll see. It's kind of up in the air. I'll
Okay.
apply for the spot when it gets posted. It won't be till after the
Okay.
season though, and then it's kind of like
Okay.
in the air. So,
Okay. Awesome. I'm looking at the Instagram stuff.
but yeah, I
Lady.
kind of fell on hard times. Last state title was in 2016,
Okay.
but they won. This will be the first, like I think the like mid '80s is when the state playoffs started for girls in California,
Okay.
and this will be the first decade that they don't win a championship if we don't win one. If we don't win a state
Right.
championship this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Who are some historic girls players, women who have come through? You
Nicole
mentioned names.
Erickson, who was like at Purdue and Duke in the mid '90s. Nicole Erickson, Jody Anton, who was the head coach at Washington,
Okay.
and then now she's at Mater Dei. You got who else? Who else? Jeanette Poland. She was
Okay.
Gator. She was the Gatorade National Player of the Year in 2007. I want to say 2008.
Okay.
I mean, they've had girls go to every big time program: Stanford, Duke, Purdue,
Okay.
SC. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Awesome. Well, I'm really glad you found this. I can't
yeah.
remember how you stumbled upon our little
I think probably
play
just
we're
like a
building this weekend around.
Twitter coaching rabbit hole probably, and just saw a group cohort thing and like jumped on it. That's probably what happened. Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah,
Well, it's almost 5 o'clock. We got
yeah.
Brogan, who's in the west, in the Oregon coast. I don't know if you've ever been to the beautiful Oregon coast, but a fellow assistant coach there, Nathan Graham. I've never seen you as Nathan Graham, but okay, Nate. We got Nate Graham over here, who's going to be our guest speaker today. I'm super excited about, and we'll get a bunch of other guys on here in a minute. But my guy John Ross, he's at Child Center at the moment. He's got a he's got a few updates for us, like life wise, but he's he's actually on his first job assignment, if we can call it that. So yeah, Brogan, what's going on with you?
Not much. Just started the season. First couple
Yeah,
of games have been, good, up and down. The
yeah,
kids are getting back into basketball shape for sure, but
yeah.
it's been exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah, Eric doesn't know you at all. Neither does Nate, obviously. But yeah, tell us a little bit about where you're at, what you're doing, and then we'll get a few more other coaches who tune in, and we'll get going.
Yeah, so I'm in my fourth year on the Oregon coast in a small town, Lincoln City. We have about 450 kids in our high school, maybe a little less. I've been there all 4 years. The varsity assistant there and the JV head coach. Yeah, it's
Cool.
been it's been going good. Numbers are
Yeah.
really good this year. Um, but yeah.
Coach Shaw, you got any words of advice for a young assistant coach?
Um, yeah, I said I think like I mean this is common advice I think, but I say try and find one or two for sure one things that you're just really good at and focus on
Mm,
that. I think is real. I think when you're an
I like that.
assistant or just a young coach, period, I think it's easy to
Mm,
get overwhelmed with trying to kind of do a bunch of stuff. But if you can be a kind of a champion of one thing, I really lean on that and still, make yourself available for everything, but really, really own something. That goes like a long way, whether it's in coaching or any kind of like business or, you know, office situation. Like try and own something as quickly as possible that they have to go
I
to
like
you
that.
for.
I love that. I love that. Okay. What do you think, Brogan? What's one thing you're really good at that you can know?
I think
No pressure.
the one thing that I'm pretty good at is just spotting defensive flaws for our team. Just especially like effort and intensity. Just
Yeah.
helping our head coach out because I mean, he's juggling so many things at one time. And at a small
Yep.
school, I'm the only assistant. So trying to
Yeah.
find the one to two things, like Eric, what do you think you would, if you were the only assistant, what are the one or two things that you would focus on?
Um, I think one thing really to do, I'll find one tactical thing, but I think the one thing that should be for sure is like the leadership stuff. I think that gets kind of put on the back burner sometimes. Some programs have really, really strong culture and some have like okay, and some like the coach kind of talks about it, but are they having weekly captain meetings? Are they really is it a real captain program? Is it a real leadership program? I
Yeah.
think that's like kind of low hanging fruit that if that's not something that you have yet, you could kind of like bring that to the table. And that's almost always like, oh yeah, you want to take that and go ahead and run with it. If you do that, I have some stuff I could give you if you want to do that. And then on the tactical side, I say just pick something that you like you said, like you spotting the defensive stuff. Just give like little reports, little notes, like unasked. Just be like, oh, I noticed this, blah blah blah, and just start doing stuff that you would do anyway, and just share it because you're with, you know, and it just kind of organically grows from there.
Yeah. I love that. On the heels of the organically growing or organically segueing, let's get started. It's 5 o'clock, 5:03. Welcome everybody. This is session number 4 of the Get in the Game Middle Park coaching cohort. Um, you know, this is I guess it's my turn to be home, and I've been on the move a little bit the last few calls, but my partner in crime over there, John Ross, he's on the middle of my screen here. He's sitting in Child Center at the moment, scouting a Rip City remix game. He's got a couple of life updates coming here in a little bit, but so he's on the road. I'm going to carry most of the conversation, but this is our fourth one. Obviously, Aiden, I think you get the perfect attendance award so far. So you've made all four. It looks like you have your fellow coach, Coach Stewart, who I said, I I just asked for the group here. I just asked, hey, like Aiden's assistant coach. Speaking of assistants, it looks like we got all assistant coaches on the call today, which will be kind of fun. Um, but yeah, I asked him, hey, do you have what do you guys do in your D3 program for strength and conditioning and season? And he mentioned that Coach Stewart, who's driving here on the screen, does the work. So, hopefully Oxy basketball can benefit from this conversation with our special guest speaker. And yeah, we'll kind of go from there. Um, Sean, what's going on? How are you?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
No, appreciate it. Yeah, I was just getting this call, getting going started. I was just about to introduce my friend Nate Graham. He's got a little presentation, but I wanted to kind of I thought this is call number four. The just for those of you guys who have or haven't had a chance to kind of look through our first call, gosh, it's been like a couple months now, was just really setting the tone, getting to know each other. But one of the things about a Sunday call like this with, we our coaching cohorts at about 12 to 13, but I know that with people's busy schedules, not everybody can make it. So hopefully the recording will be beneficial for those who can't make it. But our first one was really just kind of getting to know each other, trying to lay out the path of what we're gonna do. Speaking of this thing being organic, I think it's gonna grow and morph and take a direction as much as you guys pour into it. So anyhow, that was for our first call. We had Raz Vandaloo, who was somebody who I worked with in USA basketball over the years. He's currently with the junior national team for some 3-on-3 stuff. He came and shared his wisdom on the second call. Last call we had 2 weeks ago was with Sharman White, who's the former junior national team coach, head coach at Pace. And I had him just come on and share a little bit again more about the more program building stuff, big picture stuff. But I think as we get into the season, what I've been really thinking about and talking over with John is trying to give you guys concrete stuff that you can maybe go and it's like the clinics, right? You go to coaching clinics and there's a gazillion things that you can take away, but I wanted to almost cater it for you guys on, hey, like I think this would be something that's applicable right away for high school coaches, as they're thinking about the season ahead. So all that being said, I have my friend Nate Graham with us. He is just really well respected strength and conditioning coach, performance coach in the area. He's worked with all the way from professional players playing overseas for Paris basketball and where have you. Collegiately, he's got a lot of the top players in our area coming to his facility called Roke, which he can talk about a little bit. And what I really enjoyed seeing him do is work with some of the top high school players in our area, and in some ways even partner with local AAU programs and really kind of work them through the off-season strength and conditioning through like now. He's trying to figure out how to best serve those kids that he's had in the off season in-house or in during the course of the season. So I invited him along. I know he's got a couple of maybe in a slideshow presentation. But I wanted us to kind of start thinking about what that would look like in your own AU programs, girls program, boys program, collegiately, all of that. So just really looking forward to this conversation. So without further ado, Nate Graham, what's going
Sweet,
on?
man. Can you make me host so I can
Yes,
share
correct. Yeah,
Resi?
that would help. Yeah. See how I can do that. I used to know how to do this. View profile. While I figure that out, Nate, you want to just introduce yourself real quick and tell us who you are if I missed.
No, you're on
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
Yeah, so my name's Nate Graham. I'm the director of sport performance for a facility called Roke that's in the Tigard area. And we work with a wide variety of athletes. We have physical therapists on site, um, baseball, softball, basketball, football, everything. We work with youth athletes all the way to professional in all different sports. Um, and we have a training system that we implement with our athletes. So, whether someone comes in injured and they're seeing one of our physical therapists, or they're coming in returning from injury, or they're already in good shape and they're healthy, we have somebody that can work with them, um, and get them to where they need to get to, right? So, the conversation today is gonna be focused primarily on in-season training for basketball athletes. And lucky enough, I had this presentation put together for an event, and then it kind of fell through, so I never got to use it. So I'll get to use it with you guys, which is going to be great.
Awesome.
Let's see. All right.
Yeah.
Can you guys see my presentation? We're good? Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. All right, sweet. So quick background on Roke. Our mission is going to be to break barriers, inspire hope, and trailblaze a path for growth in health, wellness, and performance, right? There's common sayings in performance and strength and conditioning, right? One of those is, sports isn't just played in the sagittal plane. And what that means is sports isn't just linear. It's not just forward, backwards, right? There's so much diverse combination of movement to make an athletic play happen, right? A drive to the basket is hardly ever going to be done in a straight line, right? And the way we treat our athletes isn't going to be like that as well. We want to make sure that um, we're not necessarily just doing what people have been doing for all of time, right? But that we are combining our knowledge and our disciplines to find the right way to meet the athlete where they're at. And so that's what we mean by our mission. Second, we want to empower the underdog. Um, in our philosophy, we definitely think about training like an underdog. We are not focused on just working with the top 1% that have already made it, right? We want to help get people there, not just take credit for kids that are already there, right? That we just start working with. Um, Quick background of mine, director of sports performance. I've been training for or coaching for 13 plus years at this point, youth to professional. I've coached in the corporate, collegiate, and private settings where I am currently. I've had the opportunity to support executives, state champions, and professionals competing around the world. Right. So on the left there, that's who Marshall was mentioning from Paris basketball. He's a kid I started working with, 11 years now at the NAIA level, and he has gone far and beyond what any expectation for an NAIA basketball player has been. He's currently playing for a team in Tel Aviv in the EuroLeague, and they're number one in the EuroLeague at this point. So super proud of him. And the ladies on the right, they're now three-time state champion volleyball players, right? Um, so although it's not just basketball, there are a ton of commonalities that we can see in athletes that are achieving their highest potential. And one of those things is they all train in season, right? They take their bodies very seriously. They take their preparation very seriously. The work just doesn't start and stop in the off season. It goes year round, right? Just like everybody should be working on their sport skills year round and trying to continue to improve what's in their bag, so to speak. The way athletes take care of their bodies needs to continue year round, and there's a time and place for the different things that we're going to focus on each month or each season. So in season training here, purpose to maintain player health and performance, maintain and progress training qualities achieved in the off season and the preseason. And we have reference max velocity, power, strength endurance, glycolytic endurance, max strength, aerobic endurance, and finally peaking at the right time. And I thought this graphic is pretty important as this dictates everything that like we do as performance coaches. So if we can see, the lines themselves are not super important in this discussion, but really there's this idea of diminishing returns, right? So I can in training residuals, but I can get somebody stronger, I can get somebody faster, but then the question becomes how long until that stuff starts to go down, right? Because like if I only have to, really get somebody lifting heavy once every 25 days or 20 days, right? Why do I need to lift heavy every single time I'm with an athlete? Right. And essentially that's what this graphic is showing is, max velocity is about 7 days plus or minus three. Right. So our athletes start to get slower if they don't touch their top speed within 7 days of training, roughly. Right. The power starts to lessen within 14 days. Right. So when I'm looking at a schedule and I'm looking at training, I want to make sure I'm aware of how often my athletes are touching these qualities and then like what is their response to touching those qualities, right? Some athletes are let's say they touch max strength, which is 5 weeks roughly, right? Like a lot of times if an athlete lifts really heavy, one, they might experience some soreness, they might experience some like mental fatigue, they might experience like central nervous system fatigue. And the result of that is maybe they're not as fast, maybe they're not jumping as high, maybe they're not as reactive as usual. So if we're having a response like that, we definitely don't want to overtrain that quality throughout the season. We want to make sure they stay strong, but they need to stay operating kind of at peak level, right? So um, within a schedule, we want to be aware of these training residuals so that way we can plan accordingly to make sure again that the qualities stay at what they've achieved in the off season, right? And what they've achieved in the preseason, and it doesn't start to drop as they go through season, so they can peak at the right time when it's most important. Um, so next, movement types, and I'll kind of bring this all around. Maybe you've heard some of this talk or dialogue before, right? There's different movement types. We have muscular movers, we have hybrid movers, we have elastic movers, right? Your comparison of Ja Morant and Jokic right here, right? I think we can see they are, drastically different body types, and the way that they choose to move on a court and the way that they choose to attack the basket is drastically different, right? Ja is very explosive. He gets off the ground really quick. Jokic maybe doesn't get off the ground at all, right? But they're both highly efficient and elite in the way that they get from one point to the other point. And then Dame is kind of a hybrid. He's elastic, but he's also muscular. There's unseen players in this where there's like a in between the muscular hybrid, and then there's an in between the hybrid elastic, right? And I can let you guys fill in who you think they are. But the main point of this is the way you train the elastic athlete and the way you train the muscular athlete are different, right? The response that they're going to have to some of the lifts that you're going to do is going to be very different. If you make Ja Morant do a very heavy trap bar deadlift, he's probably going to be really sore. He's going to have a lot of central nervous system fatigue, and he's probably going to respond to that by being not in peak condition. Versely, if you make Jokic do a ton of plyometrics and a lot of unilateral work that's really elastic and springy, he's going to get really sore. He's not going to be moving at kind of peak shape going into game time, right? So their game schedule is obviously a lot more volume than the high school schedule, right? But this is something to kind of look at when you're looking at your athletes of like, what is your movement type, right? And just curiosity, like, how do you feel after we do this? What lifts do you like to do? That's a really simple one. If you ask your athletes what lifts they like to do, usually the ones that say bilateral lifts, like a squat, a deadlift, something like that, like really heavy two-legged movements, those are going to be your muscular movers. And the ones that don't like that, or they say single leg exercises, the ones that really like plyometrics, the ones that like lunging, single leg RDLs, those are going to be your more elastic movers, right? And again, like the superpowers of that athlete, they're going to be less sore from that type of work. And then the so-called kryptonite of those athletes is the opposite. So the elastic movers, kryptonite is the stuff the muscular mover loves, right? And vice versa. Um, Okay, so in season, big picture, right? We got roughly 4 months of basketball that we're going through. So starting in December, our games have just gotten rolling, and some of our guys are getting to it. And the goal is for them to continue to maintain and get better, even if the schedule allows for it, right? As we move through March, and then eventually we want to peak kind of late February, early March. Um, what we'll look at in our daily schedule from a week-to-week basis is we have a recovery day, a preparation day, a performance day, and a pregame day, right? Typically, I'll use the Metro League because we work with a lot of Metro athletes in season here in Portland. Once Metro play starts, typical games are Tuesday, Friday, right? So I have an opportunity to see some of the guys or girls Monday, Wednesday, maybe Thursday. Um, and so when their game is and who they're playing is going to dictate, what we're doing on those days. But in a typical format with that Tuesday, Friday, Monday is a preparation day. Wednesday is a recovery day. If I see somebody on game day, it's a pregame prep. And then if they have a bye on that Friday is when our Wednesday becomes a performance day. And I'll kind of break down each one of those days here as we go through it, right? So recovery day, and hopefully this will play. Oops, music. There you go. Recovery day, we're going to be focusing on reducing soreness, addressing aches and pains. We want to restore range of motion. We want the athlete to return to baseline as much as possible. We'll use active mobility, self massage, and then yielding isometrics, right? And really, again, the main highlight here is like back to baseline. That's our recovery day, right? Like if we just played last night and we have a game coming up, obviously kids are going to be sore. Maybe their knees are going to hurt. Maybe maybe they got bumped and something happened. Like we want to get them as close to baseline as possible. I'm not thinking about like pushing the envelope. I'm thinking about how do we get you feeling as good and ready as possible with having to have at least one, maybe two more practices before your next game, right? Because there is a load and volume to practice as well. Um, and then preparation day, high intensity, low volume, game speed, game range of motion, high velocity, overcoming isometrics, speed strength, which is a velocity category. And then we're thinking about positions and patterns. We want things to resemble game range of motion. So we can see these guys are all deadlifting from blocks and the weight is moving relatively fast. Our goal with that is we don't need them to do like a full range of motion deadlift. We want to get to specific angles that they're going to play in game, right? They're not often going to go through all of like a deep squat motion. And then we want to do things fast. We want to get as close to game speed as possible. And then we want to be thinking about, again, using their core, getting them to move in three planes of motion, and again, getting prepared for that game. Okay. Uh, Then we got performance day. So this is when, we get a bye at the end of the week, or there's like 3, 4 days in between our training day and their next game, right? So here we can push the envelope a little bit. And if we're thinking back to that training residuals graphic, this is where some of those residuals are going to dictate like, hey, today we have to lift heavy, or today we have to focus a lot on speed. Obviously endurance and some of that stuff gets taken care of through playing the game and through practice. So kind of the primary things that we're going to think about in terms of performance day, speed, strength, and velocity, okay, or power, I should say. So within that day, again, training residuals, we want to think about strength, power, speed. Again, still game angles because we're in season. Speed, strength, or strength, speed, which are two different speeds in terms of velocity based training, which is basically how fast you move the bar is dictated by load, and so you want to get athletes with certain loads on the bar moving the bar at certain speeds. There's lots of high intensity, and then it's low volume. Okay, and this is what a performance day is going to look like with kind of a bias towards strength on these days. Um, and then finally, we'll get to a pregame session. Okay, and so pregame, again, we're not really trying to stress the system. We're trying to get everything warmed up. Um, we're thinking about calibration of the body, force exposure, activation, potentiation, 3D matrix, which is what you're seeing right here, different locomotion patterns, kinetic linking, core activation, and stability. So really, again, I don't want to fatigue the system, so to speak. Like we don't want to use what's needed for game time, but we do want to make sure that the body's turned on and ready to go, right? Like I can't think of how many times, I've coached in college and I played in college. I've played a lot of basketball in my life. How many times have we gone through warm-ups and it's just kind of like your standard warm-up and then you come out flat, right? Like in that situation, I would argue that the nervous system is not revved up enough, right? We're still not excited enough from a physiological sense. And so what we really want to do in this like pre-game lift situation is we want to make sure that the body is ready enough. It's excited, it's ready to go. And that we've kind of like checked the boxes and rev the engines, right? So once game time starts, like we're good to go. Again, we've warmed the body up, we've moved it in lots of planes of motion, we've stretched it in different planes of motion, we've done different movement patterns. So once they go to game time, right, and they start moving, it's like the body's already ready to go, right? There's no new exposure that they're gonna get from the game. It's already been those boxes have been checked. Um, Now, in those, I have mentioned two different isometric types: yielding isometrics and overcoming isometrics. So on the left is the yielding isometric, and the benefits of this is an analgesic effect, so that's pain relief. So, a lot of our guys in season, due to the load and the jumping and the change of direction, patellar tendonitis or jumper's knee is such a common occurrence, right? And our guys say our knees hurt. They get like the strap to wrap around the front of their knee. They're doing that because they have patellar tendinopathy. Yielding isometrics not only benefit our strength and our muscular endurance, right? But they're a direct line to getting the tendon to strengthen and heal over time. They stimulate that as well as reduce the pain. So if you ever have a basketball athlete that's coming in game time, hey, my knees are sore, and they don't need to do it with a barbell on their back. They can just hold body weight if there's no tools available, right? But like holding a lunge position where the pain or discomfort in the knee is just starting to trigger and you're like within degrees of where the max pain point is, you hold that for 30 seconds to a minute. You do that a couple times, they're going to start to feel better, right? Their knees are going to start to calm down a bit. The second one is an overcoming isometric. This is where you're pulling into a movable object. This serves as an activation. It increases neural drive. It's a safe max effort type exercise. There is fast expression of force and max expression of force. It improves rate of force development, minimal muscular damage, and it provides a lot of positional strength. So there's different ways that you can apply that, but I'll show, we got Ben over here, who's a Central Catholic graduate, went to Whitworth, All-American, played a couple years pro. And then we got Elijah over here. He's doing a yielding ISO with the barbell on his back, where he's just holding that position. He's resisting gravity pulling him down, right? So two different types of isometrics, two different benefits. This one may go pregame. This one may go pregame. It just depends on how your athlete's feeling. This could be in a performance day. This could be in a recovery day, right? It's like the way that we use these things is dictated by how the athlete is feeling and what is their game schedule, right? How close are we to game time? Then athlete monitoring. We've been lucky enough a couple years back to get some force plates. Force plates give us a ton of data, not only on like how high the athlete jumps, but how fast they're getting off of the ground, which foot they're pushing off of more, which foot they're landing on more. There's something roughly like 90 metrics that we get just from one jump. And so in terms of athlete monitoring, this is something that we're able to do in season and we're really lucky to be able to do this. But we can look at trends of how the athletes are jumping. So when they come in, five different ones that are pretty common for us to be thinking about are going to be time to take off, so how long it takes them to get off of the ground, counter movement depth, how low they're loading into their jump, left right asymmetries, so which foot they're pushing off of more, which foot they're landing on more, total jump height, and then MRSI, which stands for Modified Reactive Strength Index. And really, that's jump height divided by time to take off. So, how high are you jumping, and how long is it taking for you to get off of the ground? Now we're able to jump guys year round, right? Because we have them in the off season, we have them in the preseason, and that gives us a pretty good idea of one, how are they improving, but also like what are their baselines, right? So someone comes in, maybe they're not feeling great. Maybe, we notice it in the warm up and they haven't explicitly told us like my hip hurts or whatever, right? And we get them on the jump, we get them on the force plates. Their jump is different. Their counter movement depth is a lot less, it's more shallow. They're not getting the normal range of motion that they did. So because of that, their time to take off is way up and probably their jump height is down. Right. And then that allows us to start to investigate. It's like, whoa, you're pushing off of your left leg way more than usual. Right. And again, the more jumps I have of the athlete year round, the more robust my data is in terms of seeing something that's kind of like out of norm. Like there is a bandwidth of acceptable like difference, right? It's not, everybody's not going to PR every time they jump. They're not going to jump their highest. They might have stayed up late. They might have had a stressful week or practice volume was high or whatever, right? But at least if I'm getting this data, I'm able to reflect back and be like, whoa, that's out of the norm. Like, how are you feeling? You know? So monitoring is important. Now, not a lot of high schools are going to have force plates. There are a few that do in the area, right? Those schools are very lucky. But really, monitoring can be simple as just getting to know your athletes and like understanding their personality and like the energy they show up with. It could also be a little bit more in depth in the terms of like, how do they normally move? Like if you guys are doing a dynamic warm up every day and one kid's not jumping as high as he normally does, or their energy is off, or maybe the way that they're walking, there's like a small limp. Like the more detail you can pay attention to your players, the more you can pick up on some of these things. So, we didn't have force plates for, until about 2 years ago. But if somebody came in and something was off, I can pick up on that. I can pick up on that in the warm up. The way that they go about it allows me to really be like, hey man, Miles, what's going on? Now I just have tools to give me objective data behind it. And I think ourselves as coaches, that the ability to get to know our players and connect with our players allows us to, pick up on this stuff more efficiently. Um, we'll skip that slide. Last bit, last year you know, kind of cool moment. We were able to support about 90% or 85% of the all Metro honorable team, right? The all league honors. 100% of the first team, the co-MVPs, 100% of the second team, and two of the five on the third team. In terms of the players that we supported, two of the two teams that trained with us in season, they both made it to the semifinals and they faced each other. And then, one of those teams went on to lose in the state championship. And I still would bet money that if their best player didn't foul out in the third quarter, he drops 40 and they win that state championship because that's the type of game he was having. But, I think in season training is, if you're not doing it, then you're leaving something on the table. And it doesn't need to be extremely high level. It doesn't need to be, um, you know, more than what you're capable of, but it does need to be something that I think is a part of every program that is serious about competing to the best of their ability, right? It's like, why would you stop doing skill work in season, right? Like that wouldn't make sense. But in the same way, like why would you stop taking care of your body? That doesn't make sense at all, right? Our bodies are so important to how we show up, right? Our best ability is availability is something that I've heard for a long time, right? So um, that's all I got in terms of my slides. I'm happy to answer any questions. Marshall, thanks for having me on to be able to talk about this stuff as I'm definitely passionate about it. Um, but yeah, we'll leave it there.
Nate, that was awesome. I was almost gonna text John and say, had your share. I could have told you, I guess, to have your share screen still on, but um, no, man, I learned a ton just in that last 30 minutes. But just any first impressions from the class in terms of any questions that come up in your minds that you want to say, throw out there right away. Yeah, anything from you guys at all? Feel free to chime in. You don't need to raise your hand. Michael, go ahead.
So, one question I have is if we're dealing with a school that obviously I work with girls basketball, so our school is mainly a football and volleyball school. So running into us being in season and football and volleyball having stuff during season, like during off season stuff, how do we handle being in season and still being able to do that preparation stuff with them and training regimens in season when the teams that are in off season take priority over that?
Um, so I mean that's going to be a difficult thing to navigate. In my experience, it's always been the teams that are in season get priority. So that almost sounds like a little backwards to me that you guys are being pushed to the side. Obviously maybe those are the sports your school values, but it's probably a conversation that needs to happen with the athletic director of like, hey, like this is something that we want to be a part of our program. Like we need to figure out a schedule in which we can also access this at reasonable time for our athletes.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Sean.
How you guys doing? Hey, Nick. Hey, how you guys doing? How you doing, Nathan? Sean Smith, Chicago, Illinois, Nike Mean Streets. I just got a couple of questions. First thing is, for your pregame lift, what's the time limit like for your pregame lifts? And then, like, far as how long you guys do it, and then prior time, how much time do you do before the game actually starts when you do the actual lift? And then,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I got one more, but
Yeah.
the answer now or wait or no?
Well, let me answer and then we'll come back to your second one. Um, I work out of a private facility and basically most of all that we do is based on an hour session. I may see an athlete for an hour to 45 minutes pregame and it'll be based around when he can get to me and also when he needs to get back to the school to do like the actual stuff that's mandated by his coach, right? Because like if he's late, he's not starting that night, and he's losing minutes.
Right.
So in that situation, it's roughly 45 minutes, maybe an hour if everything aligns and he doesn't hit any red lights on the way over. Um, but in an ideal scenario, if I'm on site and a part of that program, right? Like we're doing it right before the game.
Okay.
Like if we can make it happen and then he's like going into the locker room to have the pregame chat and then walk onto the floor and warm up, like that would be ideal.
Okay. That's great. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And then if I'm able, uh,
Yeah.
am I able to go, Marshall? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No, man. Go for it.
Sorry, class. My bad.
No, you're good.
Um, I would so is well for help to help me would be is there anything that you can give to me for say for instance I'm about to work about to do a training session with some high level athletes. Is there something that we can do before that can improve the practice? Just
Mm.
improve their ability as far as how they move and getting them ready to actually perform in practice. I see a lot of things about how you should warm up and what you should do dynamically. And I just like, I feel like we all, like you said, we got to steal from each other. So I just wanted to know if
Yeah.
there's anything that I can kind of get from you that can help along my process of warming them up and getting them prepared to actually perform at the practice so we can get more out of them. If that.
Yeah. I think like obviously the dynamic warm is really important. And then like what equipment you have access to in the context of that dynamic warm up is important as well. Even if you just have like a light cable machine, like weight room near the practice floor, or if you have like a couple dumbbells or a couple like 25 to 10 pound barbell plates, like you can do some really interesting dynamic stuff.
Mhm.
I'll try to get your contact and if you have an Instagram, there's some things I could send over in terms of like 3D movement that I think would be pretty efficient pregame to just at least get the athlete's body and nervous system more excited going into practice.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate that. I think I'm done, class. I got mini bands and just the long bands, and we have a couple of heavy balls, but I mean, I'm
Oh,
pretty sure
cool.
we probably do some with the heavy balls,
Yeah,
etc.
you can do some of the heavy balls.
On your
Be great.
brain. All right.
Cool.
Sorry about that.
Hey, anybody want to take Sean's lead and ask 3 questions at a time? This is a space where you can do that. Aiden, what's going on?
Yeah, what's up? Yeah, I'm in charge of dynamic warm up too for us. So like, the fanciest thing I do is get out some ankle bands, and just kind of have us move laterally, forward steps, backward steps. I only have like 6 to 8 minutes a day to do it. So first off, I would like to get some of that stuff. You said you would send Coach Sean over to me too. I'll give you my number. That would be great. And then I'm just wondering if you had any other ideas for me because like 6 to 8 minutes isn't much, obviously. And so I usually warm up with a few just super basic body stretches, and then I get those bands out towards the end. But with only 6 to 8 minutes, I really couldn't think of much more to include. And we have dumbbells, we have all the gear you need. So, I would like you to send some of that stuff over, and if you have any ideas.
Yeah. I think in terms of our dynamic warm-ups, we have a couple principles. Feet is one, so we do different walking patterns to try to keep the foot and ankle strong and pliable. We do some locomotive patterns to work on, again, getting the body temperature up as well as the rhythm and the coordination, dynamic stretching, and then finishing with like CNS, central nervous system activation, right? And that can be just like sprinting right at the end. So, in 6 to 8 minutes, it's pretty short, but I still think you can check all those boxes, especially if everybody's focused and not distracted during that time. It's in some ways kind of simple as like, from baseline to half court, you're walking on your toes. From half court to the next baseline, you're walking on your heels. Now we're skipping and doing opposite arm circles. Now I'm going to hit 3 stretches, down one way, and then I'm coming back the other way. And now I'm going to go through, 4 accelerations. One's at 75%, one's at 85%, one's at 95%, one's at 100%. And now I've checked the box for speed as well because I've touched, max speed that they'll get on a basketball court, and they should feel pretty like revved up and ready to go. So
Mm.
I'll try to find and see if I have any like dynamic warm up reels or anything that I've put out on social media, and I can send that your way, or I can send it to Marshall and he can send it out to everybody.
Perfect, thanks.
Nate, do you recognize Aiden at all?
He looks
He's
familiar.
a he's a Metro product.
Is he? Where'd he go?
Ah, man,
As a Jesuit,
gotta
I
he went
know
to
some guys that have
Jesuit.
been to Roke.
Yeah, those
I
are
know
my guys.
Roke.
Every time I
You know
see
Johnny
Aiden,
Rice?
yeah,
The name
it
sounds so
goes
familiar. I don't know him,
yeah, it
but it
goes way
sounds
back.
familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, every time I see you posting about Patrick Kilfoyle, I have PTSD thinking about Aiden from 5 years before because I think they are like the same personality.
Oh,
Um,
jeez.
just real quick, I'm going to interrupt and I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to ask some questions. Speaking of Jesuit, there's a good friend of mine, Jay. If you want to wave to the group, Jay's tuning in to us from Sacramento, where he's also at another Jesuit out of Sacramento, California. Jay and I got to meet actually this talking about organic and the networking opportunities that come out of this, Nate. Jay runs the I again you can explain real quick the strength and conditioning programming out of Jesuit High School down there.
Cool.
So whereas like you've been in with the college program before, now you're serving all these, college or college, AAU and high school programs from outside. Jay's actually somebody who's in it right now. So he and I got to meet when he visited, gosh, when was that, Jay? 3 years ago, when my first year as an assistant for the Hoop Summit game on the world team, he traveled up with Andrei Stojakovic, who is a Jesuit product from Sacramento. So I don't know when you tuned in, Jay, but anything stand out to you? I know coaches are always stealing, but just as somebody who's in-house with the program right now.
Yeah, I got in 10 minutes late. I
Yeah.
got caught playing, reading a wicked book to my niece. I'm visiting
There
some
you go.
family right now. And she's like,
Yep.
again. I'm like, I gotta go on a meeting real quick. I'll be back down in about an hour.
Yeah.
But I wanted to, was it Michael who asked about the in-season, off-season, trying to get in to the weight
Yep.
room? I believe you're at a high school setting. Um, I would talk to your athletic director or whomever makes the scheduling for the weight room. I mean, you don't need much in season. I mean, it could be as little as 30 minutes to get those guys prepped up, as long as you kind of check all the boxes you need to. So, I mean, even if you could ask them, you're not asking for an hour's time slot. Maybe they give you 30 minutes per time slot if that's available. Um, and maybe start from there in order to kind of get in the weight room. Maybe you could work into more time um, as that develops. But I'm with Nate. I'm with Nathan. We at my high school in season takes priority. So it goes in season, then we consider preseason would be the following season that's in next into it. Then it'd be off season, which would be two seasons out. And that's how we typically schedule our weight room stuff. So in season always gets priority. So that's pretty interesting to me as well. Um, I loved all the stuff that Nathan was talking about because it's a lot of stuff that I that I incorporate as well, and it kind of helps me feel like I'm going in the right way as well. If kind of like minds are kind of doing the same thing, so it kind of for me at least reemphasizes what I'm doing and kind of helps me out, makes me feel better about what I'm doing, and kind of like I like some of the slides. I might ask you if you could share some of that terminology I saw that you were using with I forgot what slide I snapshotted, but it's a great way to kind of for me to kind of explain that to parents and coaches as well regarding in season because it's quite interesting. I like the way you put it. You said you wouldn't stop skill work in season, and I think it's the same thing with
Yeah.
the performance side.
That's it.
And I think sometimes I run into sport coaches that tend to want to get away from it, and I think if they were a little more educated on what goes on with in season training, I think they would I guess buy in more. If that makes sense. I just started using force plates this past year as well. We kind of partnered up with a physical therapy clinic.
Mm.
Our One of our alums offered his services, which was a great one for us because we kind of are using it as a collaboration, and so there's no cost out of our pocket to use the force plates for them. We've had a couple private sector places ask us to do force plate testing, but it was going to cost us money. So this was cost neutral, and then we were also collaborating with one of our alumni. And I think with objective data, it's a lot harder for people to say no to in-season training.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, like right now, we just finished a block where we found that we filled that strength block, and then right now we're going. We call this our pre-conference schedule. So our focus right now is just staying a little more elastic, work on some elastic qualities, kind of work on their tendon strength and tendon health, and um, we're gonna do that for about another 4 weeks to kind of see if we could bump up some of those numbers that he was talking about, and then we're going to reassess during winter break right before we get back into conference, and then see what we need to kind of fill in from that end too. And that's actually helped me a lot with buy-in from coaches about in-season training. Is now you're not just saying this or that or the science says this. I feel like a lot of sport coaches really like numbers. raw data that they could kind of digest a little better. And obviously, you'll have to. And probably Nathan knows this. You probably have to like make the language a little more palatable when you're showcasing these numbers because they're like, what's MRSI? What's RSI? And you kind of put these in some more relatable terms, and they go, okay, like that makes sense. And that's where I kind of see a little more buy-in. So maybe Michael, maybe start off with asking for like a little, maybe just like a little bit of time, and see if they'll be okay with it. Say, hey, like I know you have was it football and some other sport had priority. Say, hey, all I'm asking for is like 30 minutes twice a week. Can you make that happen? And then we can kind of see where that goes from there. But yeah,
Yeah.
super interesting. Yeah, I'm appreciate that you guys invited me onto this cohort. When Marshall told me it was about in season training, I wanted to kind of hop
Yeah.
in and geek out on it a little more too. So thank you guys.
No, good to have you. Um, Nate, the question I'm going to get a lot, or I think about, it was a big deal for me having spent 3 years at DeMatha Catholic. We got to have Alan Stein as our strength coach back in the day, and he was kind of the celebrity, strength and conditioning coach. Before all those things. Now it's like everywhere with social media. But I mean, if I'm Brogan down in Lincoln City and I don't have a budget and I'm in the girls program, like right? Like what, or Eric's, I don't know what the Braille and the, budget is for, strength and conditioning, but like, what are some ways where we can flatten that kind of, access point? I know that again, a place like Rogue, you have to turn a profit. Jay, you're obviously at a private school in Jesuit in Sacramento. Like, what are some things in the presentation kind of made to me? I looked at it and I go, okay, I just got to study this more, but like, and then go as a competitor, like what are some things that I can do if I'm at a lower socioeconomic, situation, or if I'm at a D3 and I don't, have access to all, like a person like you, like what are some ways to level the playing field, do you think?
Yeah, I mean there's definitely programs that you can purchase out there and then
Yeah.
just like run them with your team.
Yeah.
There's different books too. I'm trying to think of there's one, this is this is
There you
this
go.
is for soccer. I know you can't really see it. This is for
Yeah.
soccer, but they have strength and
What's it
conditioning.
called?
This one is strength training for soccer, but there's
Hmm.
another one that's strength training for basketball that just came out and it's got
Author?
Alexander
Who's
on
the author?
the cover. Um, well, which one of the basketball one?
Soccer.
The
Let's
soccer
start with
one
soccer.
is Daniel Guzman and Megan Young.
Okay.
But there's books like that, and they have programs in it. It not only
Yeah.
teaches you like what's important and whatnot, but like when you get to the back of the book, it's like here's an in-season program, here's a off-season program, and while that's general, if you don't know where to start, then that's kind of a good place to start and pick up,
Yeah.
my first training book I ever got was what was the coach's name again from Dematha?
Oh,
Alan.
Alan Stein.
Yeah, that was my
You
first
got
one
Alan's
ever.
book.
You know, um, and I remember being like, oh, this is dope, right? And it's got stuff in there as well, right? So
Yeah.
there's tons of like cheap resources out there. It just depends on like how much time do you want to put in to like understand it, or do you just want um do you just want a program that you can run and you feel good about it, right? And in that one you can definitely find someone in your area and just say, hey, will you write me a program? I'll pay you $100 or $50 or whatever. You know what I mean? Like maybe you can get every parent to throw $5 in, and then you go, hey, I'll give you this for a program, and I'm sure that person would write it out for you, right? And then you just get a program on the go. But that would be kind of my advice. And I saw that question coming in. Let me look up the
Yeah.
basketball one real quick. This one is strength training for basketball, and then it's Javier Gillette and Bill Burgess, which are NBA strength coaches. And that's not the Shea Gill Alexander one. That one's got Giannis on it. And then
Okay.
the Shea is Complete Conditioning for Basketball, and it's by Bill Ferran, who's I think the Miami Heat strength coach.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Anybody else for last questions? Nate, I appreciate you hopping on. It's already 5:55, but yeah, maybe we could take one last question and we can excuse you and we'll follow up with some more questions.
Yeah.
Um, the call is recorded, so it'll be just shared within us, so obviously we thank you so much for just even letting us be your guinea pigs with that slideshow presentation. I'm gonna go back and watch and actually just follow up with more questions for you, but anybody from the class?
Just real quick, I just want to say, Nate, thanks for coming on. That was like a lot of awesome information. I think that's one thing too. Like, I feel like with warm up we're actually we outsource a facility. They come in like twice a week. Um, but seeing what you have laid out and what they're doing, kind of like had some things go off. Like, maybe we can fine tune a little bit. So at least because I don't know a ton about strength and conditioning outside of like basic stuff and like warm ups. I always feel like that's one thing with practice every day. Because if you think about it, we got like 15 minutes a day on warming up, and at the end of the week, like that ends up being like almost 2 hours of warming up. And I just feel like I want to be able to like maximize that, actually make it mean something. So
Yeah.
I always appreciate this kind of info to help out. So even if you are outsourcing it, you could kind of at least know what's a good baseline, what the guy should be hitting. So
Yeah.
I found your Instagram. I'm probably gonna reach out and just if I could possibly get the Prezi from you, like in an email or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, cool. Thanks, man.
That stuff. Yeah. No, and to what you're saying, like I agree, right? Like you get so much time every day for something, like and a lot of the times, right, the guys are just kind of like moving through it and they're it's like, no, you got 15 minutes to like get something out of this. Like your knees hurt, like great, guess what, I only need 10 minutes every day to do some yielding isometrics that are going to help your tendons heal, and like backed by research, right? So like don't tell me that 15 minutes is nothing, you know what I mean? And at the end of the
Mm.
week, yeah, 2 hours, right? So like let's get better at things. We feel like that in facility too, right? Like there's times where athletes are like just talking, and it's like, no, 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 like focus right now. So like we can get better at stuff, but yeah, I appreciate getting to come on and to share that presentation with you guys and actually use it. So Marshall, thanks for calling me and giving me this opportunity, and pass my information on, and guys, if you have questions or want to keep dialogue going, like just shoot me a message and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
No, thanks so much, Nate. Appreciate you. I'll circle back. The Jokic, um, Dame, Jaw thing was awesome. It made me think back on all my Hoop Summit guys, and I go, oh, wait a minute. So I think AJ DeBonsa's elastic, but I'm not sure. He could be muscular. Maybe he's hybrid. Like it made me
Yeah.
go. Dame Sar's probably elastic.
Totally.
But yeah, I that alone, like for me, that was the biggest takeaway. It made me think about like how am I going to go about each of my players. Just for the coaching cohort, 2 weeks from now, I have I thought the strength and conditioning, the in-season training was really critical. It was such a big part of our success and our secret sauce that everybody else in the area is now finding guys like Nate and catching up. So that was harder for me towards my latter years at Lake Oswego. But I think 2 weeks from now we'll have a good friend, my Shay Frazee, who is a player development coach. So I think the next conversation, I'm gonna think a lot deep on all this stuff, follow up with Nate, and then try to have some more specific dialed in questions for our guest speaker next, and see if it can be more pointed in our conversation. But um, in season training, player development, all of that is just I think such a big part, especially in this early part of the season, as you guys are getting going with everything else that comes with, being in season. So, just really appreciate your time, Nate. For the coaches here, if Nate, it's okay to share your contact on our Slack, and
Yeah, yeah.
people can reach out and network and all of that. That'd be awesome. And maybe we'll have a traveling show between myself and Nate to some of your states in the coming 2026. We'll see. But no, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Okay. No, that was big time from him. Any takeaways from you guys as you're watching it? Were you geeking out, nerding out like I was, or was it too much? Was it you got to go back and revisit it maybe, or
No, I thought it was great. Like I'll definitely want to go back and look, but like I said, like we're
yeah,
already outsourcing well, a local,
yeah,
organization like he has that comes in
yeah,
twice a week for our girls. So
yeah,
watching their workouts and kind of what they're doing and then what he kind of prescribed and how laid out. Now it's like at least I have some type of baseline. Before I was just kind of
yeah,
like trusting that they're
yeah,
doing what, they're the experts, we're paying them. So, not that what we're doing is like way, way off, but
yeah,
there's a few things I'm like, oh, okay, we could fine
yeah,
tune some things or some things I could go to the guy with and be like, hey, what about this
yeah,
and that? So that's great just to have more knowledge. Yeah.
yeah. That's big time. Big time. Um, Aiden and Coach Stewart, hopefully you guys can connect with Jay. You can start recruiting some Jesuit Sacramento guys while you're geeking out on the fact that you both got to be on this call. But yeah, no, I appreciate you guys all being here. Michael and Eric, maybe I'll put you guys in touch. You guys can talk girls hoops a little bit. Um, ideally, like if it wasn't just an hour like this and we're all always on the run or on the move, I think there's deeper conversations that take place from something that's thought provoking like this that would help us during the course of the year. So hopefully I think my challenge now is we're kind of heading into the meat of the season is like how do we really try to help you guys beyond just our call. So any thoughts you guys have for us, for myself and John, please feel free to share. And look forward to seeing you guys again in a few weeks.
Marshall, feel free to share my contact info with them
Yeah.
as well if they want to continue any conversation in regards,
Yep.
like with Michael or anybody else that wants to kind of continue conversation with that, or if you also need some additional
Yeah.
insight on strength and conditioning or sports performance. I'm an athletic trainer turned strength and conditioning coach too, so
Okay.
at the high school level. So if you guys need another set of eyes, or if you guys want a little more, another resource, if you guys are good with Marshall, you guys are good with me, and I'm always down to help whenever any way I can. So feel free to share my contact info as well.
I appreciate that, brother. Appreciate you, Jay. No problem. Hey, how about that boy Andre? He's hooping.
Yeah. I didn't like how we missed that dunk at the end though of that Tennessee game.
No, he had another dunk earlier. I think that's all the years of working with you in high school, I'm sure.
You see him miss that dunk at the end? Did you watch the Tennessee game?
I missed it.
He had a tipped. He tipped he blocked the jump shot, got kick out wide open. He tries to go like two-hand jam, back rims it. And coach wasn't too happy about that one, but they were up. Okay. So, yeah, but he's been doing good. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He didn't get rim checked. See, he was athletic enough. He got it. Yeah. So that's big time. All right, guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Please reach out in the next few weeks. Don't be a stranger. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you guys. Really appreciate the call. It was good.
Okay.
Thanks, Coach.
Take care.